Hey everyone, welcome to Off the Ground, a very short, brief introduction to Python. If you've been programming in another language, this will help you very quickly get off the ground. Let's just get started right into the tutorial. Welcome to Off the Ground, Python in 5 steps. We're going to learn Python for data science. This tutorial is based on a book titled A Whirlwind Tour of Python. It was authored by Jake Vanderplas. Are you ready? Let's begin. Getting started in 5 steps. First, we will have a short introduction on Python and see a way to install Python on our systems. Then, we will move on to syntax and data structures. We then look into control flow, functions, and exceptions. After that, we look into basic string manipulation operations and basic regular expressions. Finally, we look into how Python is being used for data science. Step 1. Introduction and installation. Introduction. Python is an interpreted object-oriented programming language. Python is interpreted, which means that the source code you write can be executed directly by the interpreter without a particular compilation step. Just like Java, it is an object-oriented language. As well, you can define your classes and objects and use OOPS principles like inheritance and polymorphism. It uses dynamic typing, which means that you do not have to have your variables predefined. You can define your variables on the go. When you save your Python program, you save it as a .py file. Currently, there are 2 major versions of Python, Python 2 and Python 3. A lot of the packages available in Python are moving towards Python 3. So if you're just getting started, Python 3 is a good choice. In order to use Python more effectively, try to follow the Zen of Python as much as possible. Some of the points can be seen on the slide. Installation. Python can be installed in a lot of ways. Since our goal is to learn Python for data science, it's advisable to install Python via Anacondas. Anaconda is a free and open source distribution of Python for data science and machine learning related applications. Open the links mentioned in the slide and install Python on your system. How to run Python code? There are many ways to execute your Python code. If you know how to use the terminal, you can use it to run your Python code. Open up your terminal and type Python. It opens a Python console on which you can type your code. Or you can use the method recommended in the slide. Go to the terminal, type in Jupyter Notebook. This will open a new screen on the browser. Click on New to start a new notebook and you can start writing your Python code in it. Step 2. Syntax and data structures. Syntax and semantics. This slide introduces basic Python syntax. As you can see in the code snippet on the left, one-line comments are written using a hashtag. You can declare a variable by just assigning a variable name to value. In this example, midpoint is a variable with a value of 5. When you go to the next line, it ends the previous command. If you're coming from another programming language, notice that we do not have semicolons to terminate a statement. Though they can be used, more often than not, they are not used. Also, notice the absence of curly braces. Python uses indentation for scoping. Therefore, the white spaces you use matter. You can also still use normal parentheses for grouping or calling. Let's move on to some more details. Python variables you declare are actually pointers. X is equal to 4 points to a location that contains 4. Also, everything is an object in Python. That implies every number, every variable has some attributes and some methods. Operators. These are similar to operators found in other programming languages. Basic operators include arithmetic, bitwise, assignment, comparison, and boolean. There are some default types of objects you can use. These include integer, float, boolean, string, and none type. Data structures. Broadly, you can find 4 types of data structures in Python. These include lists, tuples, dictionaries, and sets. Lists. These are used to group multiple values of similar type together. They are ordered and mutable. Square brackets are used to represent a list. In this example, we declare a list L of 3 numbers, 2, 3, and 5. A list has many methods, so that can be used to explore the list further. Len returns the length of a list. Append adds another element to the list, and so on. Tuples. Tuples are immutable. They are similar to lists in many ways. They're useful when you do not want to change the elements at all. Dictionaries or dicts. Dictionaries are very useful to create mappings of key value pairs. In the slide you can see that we declare a dictionary num with letters of the numbers as keys and the numbers themselves as values. Dictionaries are used widely and it is a good idea to practice them more to improve your Python skills. Sets. Sets contain unordered collections of unique items. Operations performed on mathematical sets can be performed on sets in Python as well. Step 3. Control flow, functions, and exceptions. Control flow. If you've been programming in another language, then you know most of these already. Let's look at them here briefly. Conditional statements. If, elif, and else are used to evaluate conditions in Python. To see their usage, look at the example on the right. Loops. For loops and while loops are the most commonly used looping structures in Python. For loop can be used in conjunction with the in operator to evaluate a condition and iterate. In the example on the right, we print numbers from 0 to 9. We use for I in range of 10, print I. Range of 10 tells us to evaluate the condition as true until we reach 10. Notice that we did not explicitly use any increment operator to increment our count of I. Python does it behind the scenes for us. While loop executes as long as the condition evaluates to true. Break statement will break out of the loop. Continue statement skips the current iteration and performs the rest of the loop. Let's move on to functions. Functions are written to organize and make your code more modular. In Python, functions start with the keyword def, followed by the name of the function, parameters in brackets, and a colon. In the example on the right, the function Fibonacci calculates the Fibonacci value of a given number. The number is passed to the function in the function call statement. A type of function used popularly in data science related code is the lambda function. Lambda functions are short one-off functions that are just needed where they have been created. An example of a lambda function to add 2 numbers is shown below. It declares 2 variables, x and y, and adds them. This function cannot be called from anywhere else and is valid only for the current task. Errors and exceptions. There are 3 types of errors. Syntax error occurs when the code is not valid Python. This means that there might be an indentation missing, or maybe a bracket might have been forgotten somewhere. These are easy to debug. Runtime errors are errors like division by 0 error, wrong input error. Semantic errors are errors in the logic of your implementation. Everything runs fine, except that you don't get the output you want. These can be sometimes very hard to debug. In order to be able to handle runtime exceptions, you can bundle your code in a try-catch block. An example of a try-catch block is shown in the slide. Step 4. String manipulation and regular expressions. String manipulation and regular expressions. Strings can be manipulated using various functions. An example is shown in the slide. Methods like upper, lower, strip, and split are shown. There are lots of other methods as well. I recommend you to look at the documentation for more details. Regular expressions are used for flexible pattern matching. Regex can be very useful when you have to do multiple replaces. It can also be used to find patterns like email addresses and websites. Some of the commonly used regex methods are described in the slide. These include compile, split, search, and sub. Please refer to the documentation for more. Step 5. Python for data science. Lastly, we'll see in brief how Python is used to do data science. Python has emerged as one of the major programming languages to do data science. Some of the most frequently used packages for data science include NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and scikit-learn. These packages form the basis of the data science stack in Python. In brief, NumPy is useful for performing complex mathematical calculations using arrays and matrices. Pandas is used for data munging and manipulation. Matplotlib is useful for plotting plots, charts, and graphs. And scikit-learn is a fantastic package that provides tools for performing machine learning in Python. If you liked the video, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this with your friends. Thank you.